It's almost like my finger is frozen. Push the button, Denise. Good morning and welcome to Redefining the Significance of You, time for you, by you, because of you. My name is Denise Drinkwalter, and I am a midlife renewal coach supporting women around the globe to lean in and realize the importance of you. The goal of this channel is to provide you, the viewer, with some takeaways that will help you shift, change, reevaluate, and or become more aware of what is totally possible for you. We have a variety of incredible guests, and today is no exception. Every one of us, sometime in our lives, has had that infamous free time where we frequently feel guilty or embarrassed or wrong for taking out time for ourselves. We are here to change that and support you to see what is possible for you when you take the time for you, by you, because of you. It is such an honor and a privilege to introduce to you today our very special guest, the one and only networking coach extraordinaire, Sabrina Victoria. Sabrina has spent over a decade helping individuals unlock their potential and redefine their paths towards fulfillment. Sabrina is a seasoned expert with a powerful arsenal of over a dozen coaching certifications. She wears many hats in the realm of personal development, from life coach to community builder and beyond. As the founder of Her Nation, a thriving community that I believe is just over 3 years old. You'll have to confirm that for us. But she has curated an environment that addresses the very elements missing during the darkest chapters of her very own story. Community, knowledge of the unknown, unknowns, and networking. With more than 10 years of coaching experience under her belt, Sabrina has become an incredible beacon of light, impacting thousands of lives with her transformative work. Today, she is going to share insights on creating a safe space for personal growth, healing, learning, and expanding life's journeys. If you're ready to redefine the significance of you time and embark upon a journey of self-discovery, stay tuned because Sabrina is going to take the stage today. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and equipped with the tools to embrace your true self. Sabrina, what an honor it really is to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I feel like you did your own research on that to write that. I'm like 12 steps. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens when somebody else introduces you. I've had that before where people are like, she's talking about me? Yeah, I guess I did do that.
Yes. That's exactly what just happened.
Right? There you go. Yes. I do have to talk a little bit about something that has happened relatively recently and the power and the message that moved anybody who watched your TED Talk. Sabrina, I had the privilege of seeing it online. I can't imagine what it was like being live in the audience, listening to your detailed and touching and real story, real and raw. How in the world? Can you give us a little synopsis? Because not everybody has seen it, but I'm hoping now that we've talked about it, we might even throw it in the link. If that works for you, we'll put it in the link in the show notes to make sure people go and see it because it was phenomenal. Can you give us a little bit of a snippet, if that's possible? from what occurred, how did you get from where you were to where you are now? Can you give us a little bit for our audience that doesn't know who Sabrina is?
Yeah. So my TED Talk was predominantly on, not predominantly, it was on coercive control, invisible abuse. A little bit about my backstory. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I got pregnant at the age of 20 with no husband. Because of that sin, I was cast out into the world and led this stereotypical single mom broke life of, I didn't have a mom or a dad. I didn't have a community. Everyone just dropped me because of that sin. And I was living in a state of unworthiness, darkness, sinfulness, hatred, bitterness, jadedness, all the things. And the story's rather robust, but long story short, because of just the low self-esteem, low confidence, I ended up in this extremely abusive relationship. I didn't know it was abuse because there was no physical abuse. There was only like words. And I used to call him a bully all the time. I'm like, you're such a bully. Why are you so mean? And I stayed with him for over a decade, but 8 years in, I'm on the floor having a total mental breakdown in the bathroom one day in the dark, like fetal position, just bawling my eyes out, like crying and screaming at the same time. Because like I had already cried so much and like crying wasn't doing it anymore. It was like next level. I was like dying, like death was coming out of me. And I'll never forget the day. It was a huge turning point for my entire life. But I always say Google saved my life. I was on the floor in the fetal position. I take out my phone, like bawling, and I Googled because I'm just looking for answers. I don't understand. I'm trying to be the best person I can be. I'm trying to show up in all the areas. I'm trying to do everything perfectly. And for some reason, my boyfriend at the time was just never happy with me. Never happy. So I Googled, why is my boyfriend bullying me? And this entire world of narcissism, empathy, codependency, personal development just hit me right in the face. And I always say, like within like less than a minute, my entire mind shifted just by skimming a few things. Everything changed. I sat up, I dried my tears, and recognized that yes, there was a ton wrong with him, but there was also a ton wrong with me. So I just dove headfirst into personal development. And years later, I'm living my best life. My son is 19 years old. I'm in a beautiful, thriving relationship. And I got invited to be on the TED stage to share my story of how did you go from just this little tiny itty bitty like slug mentally, not for real,
Yeah.
but like mentally, to this thriving butterfly. How did this happen? And I share my story a lot. I think that it's so important. I think my story is one of the most valuable things that I own. And it's wonderful because it can never be taken away from me. But yeah, it's definitely been a journey.
Yeah. I love what you're saying in terms of you weren't a slug, but you were in your mind.
Yeah.
And isn't that incredible how powerful the mind is? Because you knew you weren't, but you didn't know you weren't all at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's really been the craziest pivot is like, I think back now and I literally laugh. I'm like, how in the world did I do that? Did I put up with that? Did I live that? Like, it's just so weird to me what I would allow somebody to do or say to me and then stay and then try to like win them over or something. And I do want to notate that this wasn't just like a one-time thing. Now that I know so much, I realize this started in like 3rd grade with my little best friend at the time. She was a total bully. And then later on in middle school, I had another one. And then later on in high school, I had two of them. And then a couple of boyfriends kind of filtered in, nothing that extensive, but just realizing like, wow, this has been a trait that I have been carrying, people pleasing, codependency, letting people push me around basically for my whole life until I did the work, until I educated myself, until I started reading, until I started listening. And this is why this, podcasts like this are so important to listen to, because you don't know what you don't know.
It's true. And when you share your story, how does it make you feel when you share the components of that story?
Now, powerful. Girl, I've been telling my story my whole life, but this is the thing. I tell it differently now. When I was telling my story, when I was telling my story before, it was woe is me.
Yes.
It was, oh, Sabrina, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for people to tell me that, like, oh, they're so sorry for me. This is how I created my identity. I created my identity around people bullying me. My identity was, oh, poor Sabrina. My identity was, oh my gosh, Sabrina, like, how do you put up with that? You're a saint. That was my identity, of this poor, insignificant little thing putting up with all this stuff, was trying her hardest. She couldn't get anywhere in her life. Telling my story over and over and over again to anyone who would listen. And the shift in the mindset is what has now made the same story, but now so powerful. Now we're using it to teach people. Now we're using it as a reminder to myself. Now we're using it to empower individuals to realize that they don't have to stay there. They can shift up.
Absolutely. You have totally redefined the significance of you, not just the time, but of you. Yeah. You have absolutely made a decision. And in that choice and in those moments and in these stories that you tell, you have not only shifted you, but you are shifting anybody who is affording some time to be with you. So thank you for being here. Wow. We are so blessed to have you.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
I think the important thing to recognize, and the most powerful takeaway, is that anyone can do this, despite the story, right? Like, my story is my story. Not everyone has a similar story. This could be with health. This could be with wellness. It could be with weight. Could be with a relationship with mom, dad, brother, sister, children, or relationship. You can shift out of victim and into victor in any part of your life.
And I would even say one step further, that the foundational piece of all of it is the relationship that you build with yourself. Because that's the primary relationship. And once you build the relationship with yourself, the exterior world is just a benefit. But you are the only one that you live with ultimately at the end of the day, if you really want to go highly philosophical here. Yeah. So you have to love yourself in such a way that you know that you are worthy. And I love what you've said, Sabrina, in terms of there was a lot wrong in that relationship, but it was time for me to flip the mirror, because if I was allowing that relationship to treat me in that way, there's something in me that needs to change. Yeah. And that, I find, the women that I work with, they're fearful. That's the scary part. They don't know what they don't know. And you alluded to that, and that's key. Yeah. But it isn't as scary. And I'm not going to even say, but I'm going to say, and it isn't as scary as your ego is creating the story for it to be.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I love that you're saying this, because I don't really really talk about this part of my story very often, but there is a shift when I started learning about personal development. It was a huge eye opener. I shifted so much, but the real shift was when I came to this realization I had heard over and over again on podcasts. I was reading books, and there was this part that I kept skipping over of leaving the story behind and detaching yourself. So I was almost for a very long time leading this double life of like powerful woman, but like still kind of a victim.
Yeah.
And what I could not step powerfully into the most powerful human being that I could be until I completely detached from the story of victimhood. And that was scary for me because if I wasn't a woe is me, if it wasn't like this story hurt me, this story broke me, then who am I? That was a big deal for me. Like I literally sat one day and I was like, I remember it was like, I have to like trust that there's a new story for me. Because if I'm truly letting go of this identity of victim, I have you have to make a choice. Like, are you a victim or are you a victor? And it's weird because you're not quite a victor yet. Like you haven't really done anything yet. So like you're leaning into almost the possibility of, or you're leaning into the faith or trusting that you can become a victor because you can't become a victor while you're a victim. So you have to completely like throw it in the trash, burn it, drown it before you do this. And it's so weird. It's almost like killing something off or like shedding, or I'm telling you, it's super scary. I was so scared. But my whole thing was I kind of leaned into it being an experiment. I was
Mm.
like, if it doesn't work, like I could still like puzzle piece the victim back together. I could still I could like bury the fact that I wanted to become a victor, and I could delete all the videos, and I could just pretend like it never happened and just go back into being victim. But I'm like, nothing worse could happen if I decided to just make the leap.
Right.
Only goodness, like I had nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like jumping off of a cliff, like from jumping from one to the other. They're not connected. There's no bridge. There is a lot
Yeah.
of bridges throughout the personal development, but there was
Sure.
no bridge for me when I went from victim to victor. I literally had to leap and trust myself.
Yeah.
And I'm so, so grateful that I just made that decision. And it was not overnight. It was not within a year. It was not even within 2 years. It took a couple of years. I learned, came to this cliff, this section,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then mulled on it for a while.
Yeah. Well, if you think of it, when you were saying, I remember grade 3, you're talking a lot of years that this
Yeah,
practice has been growing.
totally good
So
point.
it's going to take time. People have heard me say this multiple times in different YouTubes, but my father is always speaking to me. Thank you, Dad. Rome was never built in a day.
Mm,
So we are talking a lifetime of molding that outside and inside we've been making into our belief system.
mm,
And isn't it incredible the power that we have, that we can redefine the significance of ourselves and going through that journey? I love what you're saying. You did a lot of work behind the scenes. You studied, you probably had mentors, I'm not sure, but to have a support network is really important in my view, because when we do all this work by ourselves without extra support somewhere along the line, we still get caught up and don't see what we can't see because we're too close to it. Do you find that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so, like Sabrina said, she's not lying. It's scary. But
Yeah.
which is more frightening? Staying where you are, knowing that this is not working for you, or making a decision and choice? Because you make that decision and choice, like Sabrina said, you don't have to jump right then and there. It's a journey, it's a process. Be kind to yourself and make sure that you tap into supports that are available. Sabrina is an incredible support that is available. I know she does a variety of supports. I honestly don't know if you sleep. Do you sleep, Sabrina?
This is the $1,000,000 question.
You
Yes,
know what? I know that when you are in love with the work that you do, life has a total different elevation, a total different energy behind it. And so when you love what you do, which clearly you do, then the amount of sleep is really no longer, you get what you need because you are on fire, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get woken up all the time at 4 AM with just brilliance and creativity, all kinds of things, and I try really hard to go back to bed, but my
Yeah.
body just won't let me. It's just but I will say one of the huge pivots,
Yeah.
as a business owner that I have made, that I promised myself I would do if and when I ever owned my own business, is at least 50% of the time, if not more, to wake up without an alarm. And I'm
Mm,
so happy that probably within the year, a full year now,
yeah.
um, at least 50%, if not more, I do not set an alarm. So I let my body, so sometimes it is
Mm,
4 hours and
yeah.
sometimes it is 8 hours. Um, but it is such a great feeling to set goals, attain the goals, and then live out the goals. And that's one of the great things about, owning your life and pivoting and, doing what makes you happy, setting big visions for yourself outside of
Mhm.
these confines of, society and what has been put on us that we're supposed to do. When you have a vision for yourself, figure that out. What is that? What do you want it to look like? And then what are the steps that you would need to take in order to get to that life? And doing those things systematically until I always say, do it until, do it until, do it
Mm,
until, do it until. When I was coming out of my situation, there was a point where was saving money to try to leave. I lost my money twice, and I was in my car one day and I'm like movie crying, like the kind that you see in the movies where you're just like screaming and you're hitting your steering wheel and it's all dramatic. And I felt like the universe was out to get me. I felt like I was never going to be able to escape. I thought this was going to be just my life forever. And I remember just having this pivotal moment, this pivotal thought of, until I am going to continue to strive to escape, until I don't care how long it takes. I'm just gonna keep doing it until. So many times as humans, we kind of like lean into like, "Oh, this is my life." We just kinda like let the wind just kinda take us wherever we go, because it is harder to like
mhm.
do it the other way. Like, I remember
Right.
distinctively being like, it would be so much easier, like, if I just let go and just, "This is my life. I'm with an abuser." People live with abusers, and he's not hitting me. He was not hitting me. People live with individuals who just are cruel to them. And they
Mhm.
live lives, and they die with that person. I could do that. That would have been easy. I would have been financially taken care of, and I could have just turned off all of my emotions and been kinda like a robot, and it looked picture perfect to everybody in my life, and I could have done that. And
Mhm.
it just broke me. I'm like, "I do not wanna do that."
Yeah.
So I made a promise to myself that I would keep trying until, and thank God I did.
Mhm. Wow. And look at what has happened as a result of you investing back into you, knowing that you are the most important person that you can ever invest in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's
Absolutely.
the message we want to share, that everybody listening, you are the most important person. The redefining the significance of you time for you, by you, because of you is key for
Mm.
living your life in full expression of you. And do you know what that is right now? I know a lot of women say to me, but I don't know what it is. I'm trying to find it. We are
Wait,
all trying to find ourselves.
yeah, definitely. I feel good at where I'm at.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel so good.
And that is the ultimate. And when you feel good every single day, that's what everybody in this life should be able to access. And so
Absolutely.
I
And that
love,
doesn't mean there's not problems.
no,
We got problems over here. We got challenges, we have issues. But it's dealing with it. It is taking the journey through it with a healthier mindset, you know,
yeah,
with a healthier mindset. I wouldn't trade what I have going on right now for anything. And I am on a mission to continue to grow, to continue to evolve. You know, who I am now is not who I'm going to be in 10 years. You know, I'm gonna
absolutely.
continue to expand my mindset and learn how to do things differently again, over
Yeah.
and over until, you know?
It's one of my deepest beliefs. It's one of my core values is that life is about learning.
Mm,
And once I stop learning, that's my last breath on earth because
absolutely.
there's nothing left. I can't learn anymore that I know of. I don't know
Exactly.
everything, that's for sure, but it's one of those things. Once I stop learning, something needs to change because that's not what I believe. Every day is a learning opportunity. Every interaction is a learning opportunity. Could reflect something back to you, could expand something you've never thought of, a new angle, and that's why I love what you do in particular too, with all your networking skills and the people that you bring together all the time, just is so empowering in so many ways. So thank you for that. There's so many things you do. We need to do another show together. That's what we need to do.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Um, where can people find you? Where's the best place for people to find you? And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure we have this in our show notes.
Yeah, the easiest way is just on my personal website, which is sabrinavictoria.com, sweet and simple.
Okay,
And all of the goodness that I do, within my communities or my businesses is all there. All my social media is there, everything.
perfect. Okay,
So, yeah, sabrinavictoria.com is the easiest way.
beautiful. And can anybody just reach out at any time and through that website?
Yeah, 100%. And also, all my social media is there. I hang out predominantly on Facebook, and LinkedIn. So if
Yeah,
you do want to, get to me immediately, that would be the best
yeah,
way in the DMs. Connect with me, follow. I'm constantly pouring into my community all of the goodness that I'm learning in real time and also just teaching, you know.
yeah. You are. I love it. Have a. I know I have a problem with this thing, and I'm working on it. But Sabrina has popped up again, and you always have incredible thoughts and ideas, and following you on Instagram, I get so much every day. So thank you for sharing
Thank you.
consistently. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful sharing this space with you. If you have any questions or need to talk to Sabrina about anything, business, networking, personal development, da 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 da. The list is long. she's your go-to. And if she doesn't know, I can tell you, as a matter of fact, she can definitely send you in the direction that you need to go because she has so many connections. I think you're the most connected person I've ever met. I know you're the most connected person I've ever met.
I love that. I love it.
Thank you so much for being here. It is an honor and a privilege to share space and time and conversation with you. I wish you all the best. I do want to grab the TED Talk link. So when we finish, make sure you send that to me and I'll put it in the show notes because I do want people to see that. It was so
Beautiful.
incredible. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. And for our listeners, if you are watching this on the replay, make sure you subscribe to this incredible channel. You do not want to miss these amazing conversations with beautiful people around the globe, such as Sabrina. Thank you again for sharing your time and energy and space with us today. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye.